Welcome to the Monday Mile edition of the Over 50 Health and Wellness Show, your quick hit of inspiration and practical advice to kickstart your week strong. Each Monday, I'll be joined by one of our Silver Edge coaches as we tackle one specific topic you might be struggling with, whether that's nutrition, fitness, mindset, or lifestyle, and we'll break it down into clear, simple, actionable tips you can start using today. And here's the best part. You can knock out this episode on your morning walk. Just lace up those sneakers, hit the pavement, and let us coach you through the first mile of the week. Okay, let's get moving. All right, folks, welcome to another edition of the Monday Mile episode of the Over 50 Health and Wellness Podcast. It's just me today. I don't have one of my coaches here in studio with me, so you just got me today. But here's what I want to do. So let me back up a little bit. In my podcast, I use a platform to distribute my podcast. So in other words, I'm going to record a podcast. It's going to get edited, and intros, outros are going to be added, and then it's uploaded into a software called Buzzsprout. And what Buzzsprout does is it sends it out to all the different podcast apps. So it goes to Apple Podcasts, it goes to Spotify, it goes to all the different podcast places. And it's a really cool software. I like it. I've been with them since the beginning. But they added this feature a while back called Fan Mail. And I toggled it on without really researching and understanding what it did. Shame on me. But the idea is that fans of the show would be able to comment or send questions, etc. through there. So what that has meant is it added at the top of all of my show notes. So if you go to whatever app you're listening to this on and you go to the show notes, you'll see it says text us a message or a question, something like that, right? Now, I turned that on and then just forgot all about it, frankly. And come to find out, you guys have been texting me messages, and I just found a whole small treasure trove of these. And here's the thing, a couple things. One is you are texting. So you're apparently texting these to me. I do not have a way to text you back. So when I found this, I immediately went to Buzzsprout's help desk and I said, hey, geez, I got all these questions in my fan mail. How do I reply to them? And they said, oh, well, you can't. It's one way only. Your listeners can message you. You just can't message them back. It's like, well, they're asking me questions. What do I do? And she said, oh, well, what you should do then is answer the questions on a podcast. I'm like, oh, okay. Makes sense. So first things first, I apologize to any of you who have sent messages, texted messages to the show and expected a reply. My bad. I found them. I'm going to answer them today. That's the good news. Secondly, I would love for you guys, because podcasting is kind of a lonely thing. If I'm not talking to a guest like today, I'm here in my office talking into my microphone. I don't know who's listening or what questions they have or what they want to hear more of or hear less of. So I would encourage you to please interact with that link that says text me a message. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear any of your questions that you'd like me to answer on this show. Just realize that I can't text you back. There's no way for me to directly message you back. Now, the other thing you could always do at any time, of course, is send me an email at coach@silveredgefitness.com. I read all of my emails and I do my best to reply to all of them. And if you send me a question, I'll probably answer it here on the show. At any rate, with that, I just wanted to read through a few of these fan mails, especially the ones that have questions here, and answer them here. So I'm going to get started. And the first one is from, another thing you need to know is I don't know who sent these in. So if you don't put your name in there, I don't know who you are. It does interestingly put, if you're in the US, it gives me your city and state. So here's my first question, comment. It comes from Palm Beach, Florida, and it reads, I just found your podcast while searching best health over 60. I turned 65 a year ago and said I was going to get into the best shape between 65 and 66. Over the past year, I have recomped my body, dropping weight, building muscle, eating healthy, and weight training. However, I feel as though I have plateaued and can't seem to break through. I'm looking for the proper protocols to get to the next step. I absolutely love this question. Thank you, whoever you are in Palm Beach, Florida, for sending this in. Again, apologize. I'm just now seeing this. Okay. So first of all, found this podcast while searching for best health over 60. Rock on. Absolutely love it. But to get into the best shape of your life between age 65 and 66, I think that is a fabulous mission. I absolutely love that. And it sounds like you're doing a lot of the right things. You mentioned you've recomped your body. And for those of you that aren't familiar, recomped is referring to body recomposition. That's where you're simultaneously dropping fat and building muscle. So great job there. Sounds like you're eating healthy. You're doing some weight training. However, you've plateaued. Can't seem to break through. Now, I don't know where you've plateaued, if you're talking specifically about weight loss perhaps, or if you've plateaued on gaining strength. I'm going to assume for this conversation that you've plateaued on weight loss. Very, very common thing to do, right? So as we start to clean up our diets and we start to focus on strength training, we're going to see some amazing transformations in these first few months. But then very often we plateau. And what's likely happening here is your body is amazing at adapting. And that's why you've had that body recomposition. But it also is always looking to find stasis. It's looking for this homeostasis, right? And so what's happened is those behaviors that caused positive body change, that body recomp, that burning of fat and that building of muscle, those same behaviors are no longer enough of a stimulus. In other words, those same behaviors are now probably maintaining what you've built, but they're not enough to continue adaptation. So a couple of things we could do here. And I don't know any of your specifics. For example, if you're very low calorie or if you're modestly low calorie, or maybe you're more in a maintenance type phase. But if we're looking for additional, let's say, of course, we don't want you to lose weight. We want you to burn fat, build muscle. And if that's our goal here, then we want to just change some things up slightly. So maybe if you've been low calorie for, say, the last 6 months, maybe it's time to consider doing a reverse diet. We're going to switch our focus from fat loss and really focus on that building muscle. So what I might have you do is make sure that you're hitting that gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight, that we're really, really dialing that in, and maybe bumping your calories up 100 calories and hold that for a week. And then the next week, bump up another 100 calories. The reason you would do that then is to send a strong signal to the central nervous system that we have this increased demand and we want to build muscle. So we're working on getting a little bit stronger, and just taking that focus off of dieting and being in a restrictive calorie deficit for a while can oftentimes help you break through that plateau. So spend 3, 4, maybe even 6 months really focusing on building up some strength, eating a little bit more food, not a lot more, just a modest amount more food, really staying true to eating clean as much as possible. Try to avoid that ultra-processed crap as much as possible. Eat real food. Keep that protein high. I think you'll be fine. Do that for a while and then drop back into another strategic fat loss phase. That would be my advice there, if in fact that's what you're asking here, that you plateaued, and I'm guessing you mean the scale has quit moving, which is quite common. Now, the other thing I'll say when we talk about body recomp and measuring your success on the scale is actually a pretty crappy measurement of success. I say this all the time, but if you were to lose 5 pounds of fat and gain 5 pounds of muscle, the scale wouldn't change. But you would look and feel dramatically different. People who hadn't seen you in a few months would go, "Oh my God, what has happened? What are you doing? How much weight have you lost?" And in truth, you haven't lost any weight. You've really dramatically recompositioned your body. So there you go. That's my advice there. I hope this helps. Hope this helps for anybody else listening out there. But Palm Beach, Florida, thank you so much for that question. All right, next one. Oh, another one from Florida. So this is from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It says, first time listen to your show. Absolutely love it. I am 62 this year and have always been active, but I haven't eaten very well at all. So now it's time for a change. I'm looking at the South Beach diet. I also take Beyond Green supplement. Please give me your advice on both of these. Thank you. My name is Kevin, by the way. Keep up the good work, and I'm definitely going to go into your podcast and listen to a whole bunch. All right, Kevin. Well, awesome. Welcome. I'm glad you found the podcast. And my apologies for just now seeing your question here. So let's take a look at this. It says you are 62, you've been pretty active, but you haven't been eating so great, so you're looking for a change. Love it. You're in the right place. Looking at the South Beach diet, let's take that one first. My general opinion on diets is if it has a name, I'm probably not a big fan. And the South Beach certainly fits within that rule. Not a huge fan. I don't hate it, but let's see. It's been a while since I've looked at this. So if South Beach has changed their program at all, don't hold that against me. But I believe the way they start is with a very restrictive 2-week, or maybe it's even a 4-week phase, which is very low calorie, very, very low carb. And the way they couch that is, hey, we're going to get rid of sugar, and we're going to get rid of high glycemic index carbs, and we're going to get rid of certain fruits and things like that. And while getting rid of sugar is a great idea, and perhaps some people should be low calorie, but not very low calorie, I don't like that at all, because really what they're doing is they're going to get you a quick win. Every Nutrition 101 coach in the world knows that if I want to give you a quick 5-pound weight loss, all I really have to do is cut back your carbs. Right? You're going to eat a little less food, which is going to put you in a calorie deficit. So I'm getting some weight loss there. But as I back carbs, specifically carbs out of your diet, carbs hold water. So when I deplete you of carbs, I'm going to deplete you of some water weight, which is where a significant amount of that initial scale drop you're going to see in those first 2, 3, 4 weeks is coming from water weight. That's not really healthy. That's not sustainable. I don't love that. Now, that being said, the South Beach diet, for the most part, the way they talk about food is eat Mediterranean-ish, I believe. I think they promote lean sources of protein and dark leafy greens and healthy fats. I love all that. Absolutely love it. They do, or at least at one point, I know they had some weird philosophy around, these fruits, avoid these fruits, eat. Come on, really? We're picking, you can't eat grapes, but you can eat kiwis. Just stop, okay? Enough of that. So that's my feelings there. I think you would be better off just trying to eat your goal weight in grams of protein every single day. So if your goal weight's 180 pounds, shoot for or aim for 180 grams of healthy protein every single day. And just kind of take things from there in terms of how you eat. And then as for how much you should eat, obviously we want to eat enough to power your workouts, but not so much that you gain body fat. And obviously that's much easier said than done. Now, you also mentioned you take Beyond Greens supplement. I've heard of these guys, but I wasn't familiar with them. So I pulled them up, and let me pull that back up here in front of me again. And I took a look at their ingredients list, and look, I'll be honest with you here. I don't hate this. I don't hate this at all. It's kind of interesting. They've got milk thistle, rhodiola, echinacea, matcha, chlorella. Big fan of chlorella and spirulina, by the way. But that's an algae, for those of you who don't know, very, very nutrient dense. Lactospore, some other things in there, Ceylon cinnamon and organic mushroom for overall wellness. So I do think that's probably a healthy supplement. I am a fan of supplementing with some sort of a healthy greens. I do a bunch of different ones. So I use spirulina and chlorella from a company called Energy Bit. So I'll cycle them in and out. I have used Legion's green powder. I think that's called Genesis. Right now I'm experimenting with the greens powder from Paleo Valley, which is one of my all-time favorite supplement companies. But yeah, I think I don't see any red flags there with that green supplement. I think that's probably a good idea. But of course, you should still be trying to eat dark leafy greens and eat the rainbow, eat your fruits and veggies. There's phytonutrients in there. There's fiber in there, things. We don't want the green supplement to be instead of our vegetables and fruits. We want it to be in addition to supplement. So I think that's great. So again, take my advice on the South Beach diet with a grain of salt. That's my personal opinion. I'm not a big fan of anything that's super restrictive to get you a quote unquote quick win. And like I said, the last time I looked at the South Beach diet, that's exactly what they're doing, right? They're just eliminating some carbs, reducing your calories really low so that you get that. They call it like a detox or something goofy like that. That's not what it is. It's just a way psychologically to get you to go, oh, I love this. I just lost 5 pounds or I lost 10 pounds in my first couple of weeks. This is fantastic. But it's not a sustainable lifestyle thing. So not a fan of that in particularly. However, their eating advice for the most part is pretty solid. Again, they have some goofy ideas. Don't eat brown potatoes and don't eat, I think it's grapes and bananas. That's nonsense, right? All right, so there you go. Thank you very much for your question down there in Fort Lauderdale. Okay, next up, Lubbock, Texas. Lubbock, Texas says, I'm 71, ... How do I start? ? All right, I love this. Obviously, I don't have a lot to go with here, Lubbock, Texas. If this is your question, you're 71, but I love that you're listening to the show. I love that you're interested in getting started. This just goes to show it is never too late to start a healthy aging journey. So how do you start? My advice for you at 71 isn't a whole lot different than my advice to a 51 or 61-year-old. And it's basically going to be with the basics, right? I think you should start an age-appropriate, professionally designed functional strength training program. So what that looks like is 3 days, 2-3 days a week a full body strength training program. Now that, depending on where you are, that could be body weight only. It might be with some bands and light dumbbells, or maybe you're fit and active at a commercial gym with some barbells and dumbbells is perfectly appropriate. But I would have some sort of intentional strength training program, not an aerobic, not a class, but an actual go to the gym, do 3 sets of 10 of something. So I would start there. And then if you're listening to the show, you know how I feel about food. I would start with cleaning up what I eat. I would start there before I worried about how much I ate. I would worry about cleaning up. Now, at 71, protein is going to be even more important to you than it is for my 51-year-old client, because for muscle protein synthesis, the way your muscles do that protein sensing is going to probably be more blunted than a 51-year-old. So you really want to consider both how much you're eating in a day and the dose that you're eating. You're going to want to eat a minimum of, say, 30 grams of protein per meal. And that goal of 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight applies to you as well. So start there. You're looking for good, clean, lean sources of protein, and then you want to fill that around with healthy carbs, healthy vegetables, healthy fruits, all the good stuff there. So that's where I would start. And then in addition to that, at 71, I would certainly have you with a little bit extended warm up and a nice cool down for before and after every single workout that you do. I'd make sure that you're getting that restorative movement. What that looks like for you is probably walking, cycling, but same rules that would apply to me would apply to you. I'm 61, by the way, and that would be, let's get a minimum of 7,000 steps a day. And then the other thing I would say is, let's make sure that we're managing our stress, we're getting our sleep, all of the lifestyle things, right? So there you go, Lubbock, Texas. I love it. Let us know how it's going. All right, next up is Lake Ozark, Missouri. And Lake Ozark, Missouri says AAAAEEEIESYEEEYWWW. Not sure if that's a curse or maybe I don't know what that means. Lake Ozark, Missouri, if that's you who texted me that, let me know what's up. Do you hate it? Do you love it? What is that? All right, what's next here? District of Columbia, here's a good one. Lunges, so many different types, but I can't tell the difference with the different ones. And I have arthritis in my knees. Do you have a video on really detailed instructions on the different types and how to do lunges? So District of Columbia, I don't actually have a YouTube video, but I'm going to make one now that you bring this up. I don't have a video today on that. I do have videos on all the different lunge variations. So I've got a video on how to do a forward lunge, a backward lunge, a Cossack squat, or a side lunge. We have videos for all of those, but I don't have one specifically. But I'll start here. We do not want to lightly surrender the ability to lunge. That's one of the 7 primal human movements. So we certainly want to make sure that we maintain this for as long as we can. Got some arthritis in your knees. We're going to need to work around that. So a couple of tips here. I would experiment with forward lunging and just getting the range of motion that you have available to you. So that's that pain-free range of motion on each side, and just work in that range of motion, right? Don't go further than that. Don't push, don't try, and no pain, no gain. That doesn't apply to you, right? Let's just move in that range of motion as much as we can. And let's not worry about adding load. Let's make this body weight only. And let's do these very slowly and intentional. So we're going to brace our core. We're really going to focus on what muscles are firing as we are coming up out of that bottom position. And I would experiment with both front lunges, where you're lunging, where you're stepping forward, and rear lunges, reverse lunges, where you're stepping back behind you. Very often we find people who have difficulties doing forward lunges have less difficulty doing reverse lunges. So play around with both of those. The other thing you can do is just get in that split stance, with 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, and do lunge pulses where you're not actually stepping forward and back, but you've got your back foot behind you, your front foot out in front of you, and you're just pulsing down as far as you're comfortable and then driving back up strongly. That can also, and then of course, switch legs. You want to do a set of 10 on one side, maybe a set of 10 on the other, but that also can help build some of that strength, stability, balance, and coordination that's so critical to successfully lunging. But thanks for your question. Okay, next up is Oyster Bay, New York. And here's what Oyster Bay, New York has to say. I just found you and have been listening for days. You sounded like a knowledgeable, intelligent man. Unfortunately, fat shaming is unkind and insensitive. You should be ashamed of yourself having an audience that you think it's okay to teach what this administration is about. You don't get to just say what's in your head without thinking of the repercussions. I too am out like other followers that have a heart. Maybe you should learn something more than just overcoming your struggles. And then there's a thumbs down emoji. Okay, Oyster Bay, New York, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say you listened to the Maha podcast episode I did. Gosh, that was probably a year or so ago. Yeah, I'm not going to apologize for that podcast episode. I feel strongly that anytime we can have a conversation about our health, whether you agree with the policy or not, I think that's a good thing. I think this nation, I know this nation is getting fatter, sicker, and unhealthier by the day in spite of spending more and more money. We spend more money per capita than any other country on healthcare, and yet we are fatter, sicker, unhealthier than any other country on the planet. And while I don't believe that it is the job of politics and policies to save us. I think that is our responsibility individually. I don't apologize for having a view that I believe that at least we're having more of a conversation than we had before. And just to set the record straight, I'm not a RFK fanboy. I don't agree with everything he says, but I do agree that we should all be engaging in a conversation about our health since it is now a crisis. And I'm guessing you're not listening to this. Sounds like you've already checked out. But for folks that are wondering, hey, what's that all about? And then finally, I'll say this. I have been accused of fat shaming in the past. And I think that people who know me personally obviously know that that's not in my heart. In my heart is only love and an enthusiastic and passionate desire to help people, specifically people in our age demographic, to get lean, strong, and healthy. I think that is better. It's a better alternative than allowing ourselves just this slow decline, this mentality that it's all downhill from here, and to allow us to not honor our sacred bodies and to take care of it in a way that's going to carry us through this world. I think that we have a responsibility to be strong, healthy, not only for ourselves, but for our families and our communities. That's my personal feeling, and I apologize if that rubs anybody the wrong way, or certainly I don't want that to come off as fat shaming, okay? Let's see, what's next here? Let's see if we can get something a little more positive. Oh, here we go. Here's one from Indianapolis, Indiana. Excellent podcast. Just found you. Quick clarification on protein. Is it 1 gram per pound or kilogram of target weight? Great question. Thank you. Glad you found this podcast, Indiana. And it is 1 gram per pound, not 1 gram per kilogram. And I know there's some confusion there. If you look at, say, for example, this person's in the US, so the USRDA is going to say they're going to recommend like half of that. And you might say, well, why are you recommending double the protein? Know that the USDA's recommendation for protein consumption is for you to have enough protein not to be sick. Right? So if you're chasing optimal health, you want to burn fat, build muscle, aim for 1 gram of protein, good clean protein per pound of ideal body weight. Okay, next up is Red Deer AB. I'm going to assume that's maybe AB. Is that Alberta? Red Deer? Is that somewhere in Canada? Perhaps? Red Deer AB. I just listened to the episode on cardio, and there definitely are some error in my ways. I am a 55-year-old male, and I'm wondering what the recommended HIIT sessions would be. Great question. And of course, let me just go ahead with the annoying preface here. It depends. It really does. It depends. So I'm going to split my recommendation in two. Number one is you're not metabolically healthy. In other words, you're under eating and you're struggling. Maybe you're plateaued. Maybe you're not sleeping well. You're under a lot of stress. I don't think HIIT's a good recommendation for you at all. I wouldn't do HIIT. And HIIT, by the way, is high intensity interval training. I would not recommend that for you. Now, that being said, if you are metabolically healthy, if you're eating plenty of food, so you're fueling your body appropriately for this kind of workout, for a high intensity interval training, you're already probably doing some strength training and you want to add some HIIT sessions in, I think that's fantastic. I think that's amazing. So I love HIIT to be what it's originally designed to be, really short and really intense. The word HIIT gets thrown around. I've seen 30-minute HIIT programs. Folks, if your HIIT program's taking you anything longer than 10 minutes, it's not really HIIT. Heck, if it's taking you longer than 5, it might not even be HIIT. But HIIT is really short, really intense bursts of energy. So let's start with the simplest form, and that's the Tabata. So a Tabata is a 4-minute workout where you're going to go pretty much all out, or at least 90% effort for 20 seconds, and then you're going to rest for 10 seconds, and you're going to repeat that. You're going to do that cycle 8 times, basically for 4 minutes. You're going to go 20 minutes all out, 10 seconds rest. 20 seconds all out, 10 seconds rest, and just roll through that until you get to the 4-minute mark. I love that. I personally do that. I love doing that with double unders with my jump rope, or if you don't have double unders, just regular jump rope. But really any activity could be there. That could be you sprinting. That could be you on an assault bike or one of those Aerodyne bikes. It could be you on a rower. A lot of different things you could do there. Another HIIT session I really like, and this is probably my favorite, and that's the assault bike. Now, your gym may have one of those Aerodyne bikes, and if it's not an actual assault bike, you might break it perhaps. But I like doing where we're going to kind of do the inverse almost of a Tabata, where we're going to go 10 seconds all out, 10 seconds as hard as you can, and then you're just going to go just barely keep those pedals moving for the next 50 seconds, right? So that's 1 minute. So 10 seconds as hard as you can, 50 seconds of rest. And that's a 1-to-5 work to rest ratio. And you might think, well, that sounds really easy. Do 5 rounds of that. So at that first one, you're going to feel really good because 10 seconds going all out, you feel like a beast. You feel like an animal. And then you go, you get your heart rate back down in 50 seconds. You're ready to go again. That second one, you just hammer it all out for 10 seconds. And wow, holy moly, that 10 seconds sure seemed a lot longer than the first 10 seconds. But no worry, you're still an animal. You're a warrior. You get that 50 seconds of going nice and easy. We want to keep that bike going. But now our heart rate's not going all the way back down the way it did the first time. We're still pretty jacked by the time that third minute rolls around, and we're going again 10 seconds as hard as we can, and all of a sudden you're thinking time is just you're hallucinating with time, right? It's slowed way down, but you get that 10 seconds, you get the point. That is 5 minutes, a really intense HIIT workout, one of my absolute favorites. You could do the same thing on a rower. You could do the same thing with just running sprints. But again, the caution here is let's work our way up to HIIT. If you've not done any intense all-out efforts in years or decades for some of you, I wouldn't jump right into that. I'd work my way up to it, and I would make sure I was metabolically healthy enough to do that kind of work. All right, let's see what else we got here in the mailbag. Here's one from Australia. It just says Australia. It doesn't tell me where in Australia. It says, do you assist ladies in Australia? Yes, Australia. We accept ladies in Australia. This one was written, looks like a couple months ago. Is that right? Yeah. So this has been a while back. I apologize. I'm just now answering you, lady in Australia. But yes, we do. I don't think we currently have any females in our program from Australia, but I know we have a couple of Australians in our collective group. Maybe you're one of those in there. I know we've got some one-on-one clients from Australia. So yeah, we absolutely do, to answer that question. All right, so next up, we have Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I love your podcast. I'm trying to eat cleaner and lose some pounds. Lancaster, I absolutely love this. Thank you for joining in. And yeah, eat cleaner, lose some pounds. My advice to you would be the same. It looks like you sent this message quite a while ago, so hopefully you're still listening and you've got some good tips. You probably know our philosophy here at the Silver Edge. We want you to clean up that diet. We want you to eat lots of protein. We want you to be strength training. But way to go. Love that you're interested in that. Let's see. What else do we have after Lancaster? We have Alberta. Hi, my name is Chris. I turned 52 on Sunday, and I am tired of being overweight. I just found your podcast out of frustration. Chris, you're in the right place. I see that you sent this quite some time ago. I hope that you are still tuning in. I hope you got some advice from us, and I hope that you are, in fact, winning on that weight loss, or you probably know by now, you're not on a weight loss journey. You are in a fat loss journey. Hopefully, you're building a little bit of muscle there. Same things we've been talking about apply to you. Just all the boring basics. Let's clean up our diet. Let's eat plenty of nice, clean, lean protein. Let's make sure we're intentional about getting our steps every day. And let's make sure we're following a professionally designed, age-appropriate, functional workout program. Make sure we're sleeping and managing stress, all that stuff, getting your water in each and every day. That's how you win. That's how you get, that's how you go from being 52 and tired of being overweight to being 53 and being a badass. But thank you very much for writing in. Okay, next up we have Murrieta, California, says, Kevin and team, enjoyed today's show. Always good to hear other people's journeys and struggles. Well, thank you, Murrieta, California. I don't know which episode you're referring to, but I'm glad you got some value from it. Okay, another one from Australia. This one just says in lowercase RFP. I don't know what that means. If anybody in Australia can help me out, tell me what RFP means. Are they swearing at me? Are they giving me encouragement? Not sure if that's an acronym, what that means. Next up, Traverse City, Michigan says, thanks for the podcast with Sal. Trying to change bad habits over 50 has been challenging. I love the idea of changing one thing until it is a healthy habit and then tackling the next one. I'm starting with 2, eliminate processed foods and move daily. All right, Traverse City, I absolutely love it. I'm assuming that you are referring to the podcast I did with Sal DiStefano of Mind Pump. I had him on the show, so sounds like you're going back through the catalog and listening to some of those older episodes. Glad that it was impactful for you, but you're definitely on the right trail. Small, steady change that becomes a habit. That's the way to win lifelong. Absolutely love it. Way to go. And let's see, I think we had one more. Yeah, we have Barnegat, New Jersey. Barnegat, New Jersey says, I certainly hope you don't develop a prolapse from all your heavy carries. Once your organs prolapse, there's no going back. Well, dang, New Jersey. Yeah, I hope I don't develop a prolapse as well. So those of you who don't know, a prolapse is a collapsing basically of organs, usually associated with the pelvis. Not sure. Maybe this person has some personal experience in this, but what she's referring to is in fact, almost all of my personal workouts end with a heavy carry. That's a suitcase carry where I'm just carrying a heavy object in one hand, or a farmer's carry where I'm just carrying something very heavy in both hands. It could be an overhead carry. It could be a single arm overhead carry. I think heavy carries are super functional, really healthy activities for those of us over 50 to be doing. I actually have all of our clients at some point or another are going to do, now heavy's relative, right? We're going to meet people where they are. We don't want to weigh people down or cause them prolapse. But I'll say this, a strong, healthy body is much less likely to prolapse than a weak body. So I'm going to continue with my heavy carries, and I appreciate your well wishes. All right, folks. Well, that is it. That's what I've got here from the mailbag going back. And again, I apologize to those of you that messaged. You probably thought you were sending me or our company a text, and that's not what happens. You send, I guess, a text to Buzzsprout, and they make your text available for me to see. So, but again, now that I've found this, I would love nothing more than you folks to comment. Let's hear what you guys have to say, the good, bad, and the ugly. And what I'll do is every once in a while, I'll do an episode where I just read your comments and answer your questions. So there you go, folks. I hope you found this information valuable. And again, I want to hear from you. Looking forward to it. Until next time, stay strong. Okay, folks, that is your Monday Mile for this week. Quick, simple, and packed with power. If you found this helpful, be sure to share it with a friend who's walking their own path to better health. And hey, don't forget to tune in this Wednesday for our full-length episode of the Over 50 Health and Wellness Show. Until then, keep walking, stay consistent, and as always, stay strong.